Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Run It Up number 47. We are here today playing some 50-cent $1 no limit Texas Hold'em on UltimatePoker.com. And not only are we doing it, but this is the very first hand. No hands missed, under the gun, ready to go, pre-casting before we get cards in the big blind. That is it. We are becoming professional over here. Don't know any of our opponents. I know the McStraddle guy. I think maybe sort of. We've seen him before a couple times. And I know the guy on our right has a cat avatar, so we're clearly going to be a favorite against that person. In this case, this guy opened and we have king queen suited, so certainly we're not folding. The question is whether we're going to call or re-raise, and I think calling is fine. Certainly re-raising would also be cool, but I don't know our opponent. He made it kind of big, so alright, let's just call. We have flopped a 3 straight flush here, which is always pretty sweet. I think I'm going to start with a bet here. We might not have the best hand. You might have a hand like ace high, which would be better than king high and would require multiple barrels to get him to go away. But looks like we don't have to give him the business here, and he just says no thank you. So, yeah, we've been making videos every single day this week. Video making heater, and we're on a heater. I think we're on a 5 or 6 game win streak now. It's been pretty sweet. We've ran it up, as you could say, I suppose, from, what did we have, like a week ago? Like $380. So we've won like $1,000 in a week. That's pretty sweet. So, we've been doing that. If you haven't seen those videos yet, you should go check them out. There's some good ones. There's some good ones in there. But I have been also answering viewer questions over at my dearjcarver@gmail.com email address. And if you yourself have a question that you feel like only I can answer, which you would be wrong about, by the way, if you feel like you have a question, fire away over there. Make sure you write Dear J Carver, and then maybe your question will appear in an upcoming video. So, let's get right in there while we're on on a little bit of a break here until we get our button hand. Okay, so DJK Cray, which I think we've seen him before a couple times, writes, how low of a limit would you back someone on, as in 5-10 cash or $500 tournaments, higher or lower? He didn't even write Dear. First of all, no Dear J Carver. Points, for you, sir, taken away. I think you're asking like what's like a stake worthy of staking someone for, and staking is a kind of a tricky thing. So I know we have a good hand on the button here, so we'll wait. We'll keep the staking question for a minute. I'm probably planning on just calling this. We could re-raise, you can take our 2 9s here to be like 2 jacks and then re-raise, not fold. Or you can take them to be like 2 6s and just call, and that's fine too. With the cat avatar in the middle, though, I definitely want to attack because McStraddle might think that we're just attacking because of cat avatar calling in the middle. Which would be a reasonable thing for him to expect. So if he re-raises here, we just have to go with it. We can't do anything else, just because the situation we've kind of created here is meant to hope that he attacks us, thinking that we're weak. I'll take it, though. We picked up 750 there for our trouble. All right. It's like what we won last video or something, right? Okay. We've already made more money. Gonna open this here. Don't see why not, We've got a hand. It's the cutoff. Seems like that's fine. Cat avatar on the right, dog avatar on the left. I'm opening a lot. No respect. I can't do it. So we've managed to flop a purr here. We've made it to purr status, which is always sweet. We also have like a straight flush draw, which is always awesome. We're just perfect away from a straight flush. He wisely lets that one go. A dog, a cat, two samurais, and some guy looks like some sort of like a guy clown face. I don't even know. I don't know what that guy's doing over there, but whatever. Anyway, back to the question about staking. So your question was, is it worth it to stake people for small stakes? And I don't know if you mean for me. For me, it definitely is, because I don't like staking people for small stake stuff, because I just don't want to go through the time and accounting. Did they play? Did they not play? Did they get receipts? Did they not get receipts? It's not worth the hassle for me. For people though, it's certainly fine. If you've got a friend who you think is good at poker or a winner in the field at least, all he has to do is be better than people he's playing, right? If you think he is a winner and he or she is a winner and you want to buy action, I think it's fine. I think that if you were going to be someone who was looking to be backed, backing is a little different than staking in terms of like how I look at it. When you talked about like backing deals when I started in poker, backing deals typically were like long-term arrangements. So it was like I'll pay all of your buy-ins and maybe even your expenses, and you'll give me half of the profit. And if you lose money, you have to repay that money. Not repay is the wrong word, but you have to give me that money back before we split any profits. So if you go out and lose $100,000 of my money and then win a tournament for 200K, we don't chop 200K profit, 100K you, 100K me. I get my 100K back first, and then we chop up that last 100K 50-50, or whatever the deal may be. Against this guy here, we could have the best hand. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I'm going to fire twice. Once in a while he'll fold pairs, which would be sweet, and we actually get value from some worse hands, which is also fine. I also want him just to fold if he has a hand like ace jack or ace queen, which are both reasonable hands he could have in the spot. I think that if he calls here and the river is a brick, we have a decision to make between checking back and betting. If he check raises us, I guess we just fold, but it's a cat avatar. I'm not really worried about that. So yeah, in the old days you would just get backed for everything, and that's just the standard. But the new form of thinking, and I actually think that it's much better financially, especially for the backer, is to just buy short-term arrangements and buy pieces. So if I'm going to play the World Series of Poker main event and I'm going to sell action for some reason or another, I'm going to sell, 10% to you for, 10% would be $1,000 at par. I guess we just check fold here to pot. So it would be $1,000 if we were selling, with no markup, as it's called. So in that tournament, I would probably sell 10% of myself. Someone's going to laugh when I say the number. It's like 2,500 I think I would sell for, because I think my edge is so high in that tournament, and I think that my return on investment is like probably 300%, something like that. So at 2,500 you still make some profit, and I think that's close to fair. And I think most top pros would sell at a similar rate, or so I think they would, at least. So, it depends on how much you're selling and what your arrangement is and everything else. So it all depends. If Cat Avatar calls on the button, I might do something wild. And by wild, I mean just fold. If it's heads up, I'm going to be much more tempted. Oh, okay. I was certainly folding to the min raise, which is very scary actually in a 4A pot when the first guy like pots it. If the guy min raises you, if a cat avatar min raises you, you run for the high ground. That's all I know. that's the one thing I've learned after 10 years in poker. You do not mess around with min raises from cat avatars. I decided to min raise it up. We could do anything here. It doesn't make a difference. Anyway, so yeah, as far as like the backing staking goes, that piece buying is kind of the way to go. If you want to play a $500 tournament, you want to sell, you want to keep half of it for yourself, and you're going to sell half of it to other people. I think you can be fine to just do that and then sell at some markup, whatever you think is reasonable based on your return in the tournament. Sell half for $300 total in a $500 tournament. Something like that seems fine. As far as is it worth it, cash game staking is really tricky, and I kind of highly recommend people stay away from it. I mean, you can stake I think the list of people that I would stake for cash games is it's probably under 10 people that I would stake for cash games. Okay, 10 is too low, because I'm sure there are people that I trust but wouldn't want to be backed. Don't need to be backed. I would stake Negreanu, obviously, but he doesn't exactly count. So I think that the point is that there aren't too many people that I think you should be very careful with live cash staking, because there are so many levels of things that could go wrong. The player could accidentally miscount a stack. The player could accidentally get mispaid. We're talking about casino games too, never mind home games, which is a whole different shit show of backing. So I think that when you do live backing, you have to be where people are going to count correctly, report correctly, keep track correctly, do all the accounting correctly. There's so many things that you're just relying on someone else to be honest about that you can never track. At least with a tournament, you usually will know if they actually played or not. And in cash, that's just not the case. So cash game staking is a very tricky thing and something that I really advise most amateur backers to stay away from. It's definitely a tricky thing. So I don't know if I actually answered your question, but we had a nice little chat about staking. So if I didn't answer your question, well, email address is still open. So fire away there. All right, next question. Okay. I'm going to read this one word for word. Not so. Dear Jay Carver. Witty European humor. Help me out here. I got something I want you to talk about. I've been watching your videos for quite some time now, and I have noticed something. ... Enter. New sentence. Where or from whom did you learn or get these typical hand gestures? Maybe the camera makes your arms look longer and more whitely looking. That's true. I do have very pale arms. That's true. I'm glad you've noticed. I don't know about the length thing. My arms are normal as far as I know, but hey. Every time I watch you, I tend to at one point only focus on your arms, which take me on some kind of weird journey to the end of the universe and back. This might be my favorite question ever. I know this may sound odd, but they have a kind of hypnotizing effect on me. I'm sure that people close to you can relate to my story. It's the combination of the gay and Italian thing. That's what does it. That's the mystery mix. Long Island, I guess, on top of that makes it just like the third ingredient to the recipe. I don't know if there's a question here, actually. Let's go back to this hand for a second. I limped called preflop. We have ace high. There's no reason to suspect our opponent has beat us. It's possible, but, I'm not sold yet, Certainly a pretty good card for us. If we were ahead on the flop, we're still ahead now. Checking back makes me feel like we were definitely ahead. Ace is a great river card for us, not because it makes us the best hand, which it probably does, but it also might encourage him to bluff, which is pretty sweet. I have 3 pairs. Dog avatar decides to say no bluffs here, and we ship that pot. So surprising to see him not bluff that river, I guess, or at least not think about it. Worth noting, I think, for the future. But this time doesn't matter. So I don't think there's actually a question here. Like your videos and keep the cat in tobacco. A little bit of Dutch, I guess, or at least my butchering of it. Greetings from Holland, Matt. I couldn't say the last 4 letters of your name. Matt, Hijs. It's like Matthias, something like that. So question, I don't think, where did I get these typical hand gestures? I don't know. I think it's just a thing I've always done. I've always been a talk and, hand gesture type of person. I've just always done it. I remember my mother as a kid telling me to stop shaking my hand so much. She's like, what's with the hand? Shaky, shaky. That's what she used to say when I was like 5. It's true. It's a real thing. I several times in my life, my mother took me to like experts to like fix things. Like I used to talk really fast, which is still a complaint that I get sometimes. But I used to talk really fast, so people thought I had like a speech impediment where I believe I was just like mentally already over the words that I was saying. So I was just on to the next thing and just rushing through to get to the next thing that I was thinking about. That's my theory when I was like in 2nd grade and people thought I had a speech problem. But yeah, so in this hand I raised, he raised, we called, and I think we just fold here. I have no reason to suspect that this guy is light. Like, I have no reason to suspect this guy has, like, Queen Jack here ever. I mean, it's possible, but I really just don't know. So, I think that I'm going to give him credit here for having a hand better than ours and just fold. It's not exactly a board we want to contest on. Like, what turn card comes that buys us the pot besides, like, an ace or a 10? Like a queen, does he really check fold? Like, a better hand on a queen? Maybe like 7s sometimes. So I really just wasn't sure about that, so I went with the conservative path for the time being. So thank you for your question, sir. Sorry if I didn't answer it that well, but I actually got 2 emails about my, my hypnotizing hand gestures, which I wasn't really aware were hypnotizing. We get to go to war twice with this guy. Again with suited tens. Hopefully this one fares a little bit better for us. Let's see a flop dealer. Pretty good flop. We have flopped 4 of the same shape, which is always fantastic. And our opponent checks, so alright. Checking means green light go as far as I'm concerned. So we could bet 10, we could bet 9, we could bet 11. Let's go with 10. Why not? If our opponent check raises us, we just have to say we're all in, or we could call, which is the same thing because we're not going to fold in the turn, so whatever. If he check folds, it's probably sweet because we probably don't have the best hand with jack high, although equity-wise we might have a slight advantage. So him check raising us here, he could definitely have like aces and we could just be, getting him with a flush draw, but I think sometimes he actually check raises and folds, although you would imagine that if he had a hand like ace-king, he would... maybe I should call. No, I think we can just shove because sometimes he'll fold here, and sometimes he has just like ace-6 or something like that. We don't want to just call and then let him shove, and then we might fold turns. So the fact that he's tanking now, I'm already happy with this shove, no matter what he has, because if he's even considering it, then it's definitely good for us to shove. And even if he calls, we're not too concerned. We're probably drawing live to spades and maybe even jacks and tens. He does decide to call. Ace and queen. All right, we're going to need a jack or a 10 or a spade. We have a straight draw. What does that get us? So I'm very happy how he played this hand. I'm very happy with how he played the hand. We got it in as a favorite, although not by much. If you don't believe me, let's look at the odds calculator on that one. Not that, I'm pretty sure we're like 52-48 or something like that on the flop. But I'm very happy that we successfully did that there, because if we, if he is ever check raise folding and he give us the full tank, so if he decides to fold, then it's fine with us. We're gonna get it in, pretty correctly there with pairs and such. So very happy to get it in there as a slight favorite. We'll also reload because I don't want to buy in for too short. Let's buy in for 50. All right, so we're in for 150 total at this table here. And let's see, if you're new to poker, I'm going to run this just so you guys can see. We'll definitely be calling here with king and 9. I think we just end up check folding here, but maybe something else happens that changes my mind. All right, so we had jack 10, our opponent had ace queen offsuit, and the flop was 6, 5, deuce, something like that. I guess we just fold, right? All right, sure. So we're actually, according to this odds calculator, which I have brought up here, we're actually 53. According to this, it's 53, 45, something like that. So definitely got it in as a slight favorite, which I'm happy with. Against his actual hand, it's fine. He didn't make a mistake by calling, given our actual hand, of course, because his hand's basically flipping. So if he folds, that would be a pretty bad mistake on his part. So, yeah, I think that he should probably just bet fold on the flop instead of check raising and then calling it off. That's probably not good because we're going to have sets to pairs, pairs, generally speaking, flush draws, nothing that does, ace queen doesn't do too good against all of that, obviously, but worked out for him this time. We've run pretty hot in the last few weeks, so we can't be too upset by any means. Not that I'm very often upset about a poker thing. So, yeah. That was that. All right, let's do another viewer question here. I'm gonna just keep pulling them out here. I have like almost all of them. I usually will like pick 5 and pull them out and put them in this file so I don't have to dig through the emails. And I've been pulling them out at like semi-random from here. So I haven't read most of them in advance. I usually just make sure there's a question mark somewhere in there so that I can answer that. But that's it. English, and is there a question? Sweet, that's it. All right, dear Jay Carver, if, hypothetically, a run-it-up fan or fans went to Vegas for the World Series, would you be willing to do a little meet and greet? Absolutely, for sure. I'm definitely down to do a little meet and greet. By the time that anyone like comes to the World Series to hang out, we're gonna have plenty of cool things going on that you guys will be able to do. Like you don't even know. There'll be some things going on. You'll see. There'll be lots of those sorts of like meetups and hangouts, stuff like that. I love that kind of live thing. Live Q&A, live stuff. I mean, if I could like create a job that I would love to do, I'd love to do like a run it up world tour. Let's do like a run it up world tour. We'll go around the casinos. We'll visit, everyone we need to visit. We'll just do a little tour. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. But yeah, we'll definitely be able to do hangouts and stuff like that, especially during the summer when everybody's in town. Nick here also asks, will we ever see a full MTV Cribs run it up edition of your place in Vegas? Certainly not of this place, because that whole thing would probably take maybe like solid 30, 45 seconds. This is one of those like one huge room and then the two bedrooms. So it's not exactly an enormous sprawling situation I'm currently in. But this also is not my permanent place here. So once I get settled into a real place, then perhaps. But the coolest thing about the whole apartment is what you guys are pretty much looking at right now. So enjoy that. That's a thing, at least. It's pretty much it. If you haven't seen the full tour, I mean, I've changed camera angles a decent amount of times in my life here, but I haven't used that one that shoots this way too often. But I guess I gotta use that more often. But I haven't really figured out a good thing to use it for. I haven't figured out a good angle, a good reason for that angle. Obviously, that forward one I've been using for certain stuff, but the side one, if you look at like the first few videos, there's actually an angle that shows the monitors. I just haven't had a reason to use it yet. So, okay, I guess we'll re-raise. We could call. I'm just not folding. That's all I know. I think 7 is fine. We could make it 650, 675. 8. All those numbers seem within the realm of reasonable. So I would do a lot of different things here against different people. Sometimes I would bet. Sometimes I would check. Sometimes I would check call. Sometimes I could conceivably check raise. And sometimes I can conceivably check fold. But I mean, those two extremes are probably both pretty unlikely. We're going to just check call here. I think that's fine. Like against a guy like this, who I perceive to be a little bit straightforward, I think that betting doesn't necessarily accomplish a ton, whereas checking lets him bluff. And that's pretty much the short of it. If he bets here twice, though, we're going to be in a situation where I'm not really going to be sure what to do. I'll be inclined to fold, but I don't think I'm going to fold yet. For one, we have draws to, the nuts and close to it with any 10 or queen is probably also good. He has king jack, king 10, he has king sometimes, but he also might just have other things, so I'm going to call here and we will see what happens. At this point, I think that we could have a hand as good as ace king and conceivably play our hand this way. Like if we wanted to play very passively, we could have ace king here. If our opponent bets here again, we're just probably going to fold at this point. I assume at this point that our opponent has probably got a hand better than ours. This hand could have been played by, if we had just bet on flop, then I think that if we had just bet flop, then we would have maybe found out a little bit something else, but it wouldn't have changed much, I don't think. Like, I doubt that our opponent had like ace 4 offsuit and then decided just to go to town because we checked him 3 times. It's possible, but I don't think it's likely. So I don't love how I played that hand, but I think it's fine, I think it's fine. Pre-flop is fine, whatever. And then flop, check, call, turn. We could arguably check, fold, turn. I think that's also fine. If we think the guy's straightforward, then I guess it's all right. It could be a guy just taking a second shot, just trying to get us to fold, but I'm not necessarily sure this guy's doing that. So we might have given away $18 there that we didn't have to give away, but it can't be too bad, It can't be that bad. It's not like we check called with like, ace 6 or something like that. So probably not the best of things, but certainly not the worst of things. I'm going to reload here for another 40. So we'll be up to, we're in for 190 at this point, something like that. The cat avatar, man, it got us. What can you say? What can you say? All right. King 9, I guess we fold. So yeah, we're in for 190 now, so we're stuck like 100 at this point, but ain't no thing. Ain't no thing. So I think the rest of the videos this week, I'm planning on doing another run it up at probably a higher stake than this one, but I think I'm actually going to do a 50 big blind buy-in 1-2 game. That's actually what I think I'm going to do next for run it up, probably. I think that'll be fun to do like a shot take type of a 50 big blind stab, see what happens with that. Because we're obviously not rolled for 1-2. I've been doing it with like 5 buy-ins, which is obviously not great bankroll management. Although this is obviously, we're even like, I feel like we're very comfortable here. We're one tabling. We have $1,400. You know, what's a buy-in to a guy like us? You know, but 1-2 is like a little scary. I think to play 1-2 and just lose like 400 in a session and be down to 1,000. I'm not ready for that yet. I think we can just play for 50 big blinds. You know, $100. Give me chips, dealer. All right. Once the cat avatar gets his or her life together, we will be making some decision here. Probably planning on calling. Could rear-raise also be okay. Calling sounds cool to me. What's up, Thump? All right. Not the best of flops for the pocket threes. I think we have 2 options here. We could either... Actually, we have even more than 2 options. I was planning on saying that we could either check back... we could either check raise or check fold. I mean, it checks back twice. Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't talk about all my plans for the turn card here because, boy, did I have some. But looks like we're going to just play friendly poker. Check, check. And now here we are. I mean, we don't have the best hand. I can almost guarantee you that much. He doesn't have that much either, though. So I'm very tempted to just make it like 15 here, but like, what do we have? What do we have that plays that way? What do we have that calls pre, check, 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 raise? You know, like, I mean, it's unlikely that we're bluffing, but you know, I felt like, you know, we put $1.50 in the pot. I think we can just let that one go. But I had devious intentions at some point. Just didn't seem to work out for us. Oh, by the way, if you didn't see it yet, David Williams, my writer, statistics wizard / friend, wrote up a blog about the last like week of Run It Up action over at jasonsomerville.com. So if you're gonna check that out, it's over there for your viewing pleasure. All right, let's raise it up with the 9 and 5. What's the worst thing that can happen? $2. Pokerizer over there. The pokerizer. All right. Doesn't decide to defend his big blind. Even better than the 9-5 offsuit. The 8-5 suited. I think we're going to call if cat avatar raises. We will raise ourselves, though, if folded to. Why not? Off to the flop we go. Position against our 2 opponents. Pretty good flop for 5-8 suited. Ace high is always sweet because it makes people scared, and we actually have equity no matter what they have. And it's tricky, scary equity too. It's like no one will ever think of it when a 4 hits. They'll never know. They'll never see it coming. Even though we bet $4. We tried to help, you know. Let's see what McStraddle does over there. So this check raise is kind of interesting. It could be a bluff, just putting pressure on us, but you know, usually you would think that he can't really check raise here. Too much for value. What does he have? Like pocket 6s, pocket 7s, ace 7, ace 6, or 6-7. Not a ton of hands. So we're gonna start with a call here, see what he does. He checks on the turn a lot to us, which is sweet. Bink. Also sweet. Ripping the 4. He knew because we bet $4 on the flop. He must have known. So it's possible that he's just check folding, right? Which is fine. He was just bluffing and now he's check folding. But if he was bluffing, then it doesn't make a difference, you know, whatever. If he happens to have a hand that has a 5 in it, then great. He's going to maybe check raise all in or something like that. If he has 2 pair, he has to just check shove. If he has a set, he has to just check shove. So I think betting makes a lot more sense. If he just check folds here, that just pretty much means he was just trying to bluff us on the flop, but we weren't making more money from bluffs anyway, right? Interesting that he check calls. Don't have the nuts anymore. Spades would beat us, but, you know, he only has pot left, so it's not like he has a flush too often. Now the question is, how much can we bet? I don't know if he's strong enough to shove. 'Cause I feel like if he was strong enough to shove, that he would have just shoved turn himself. So I thought betting 44 gives him a little bit better of a price. People are a little bit less hesitant to call for 44 than their whole stack, I think, in spots like this. We could have bet like a little bit less, 28, 35, something in that range. But it's possible that he just had a hand that was never going to call, like an 8-9 type of hand, which is just, you know, needed to get there or not. Yeah, that would make sense, you know, because anything he check raised for value on the flop is probably not folding by the river there. You know, what does he have? He has ace jack, so he check raises, check calls, check folds. Like that would be a really pitsy way to play ace jack. If not that I think he did it, but if someone did it, I think that would be pretty non-optimal. Given no history, you know, maybe he's, you know, knows something, I don't know, but in my opinion. So decent pot for us there. We're only stuck $65, which is kind of sweet. Let's do another viewer question. Let's rip it out right here. Dear Mr. Sir J. Carver, I like it. I'll take it. I have been playing poker with a more serious mindset than I used to, and I have seen pretty good success since doing so. Not surprising. I'm looking to study the game more closely to have a better understanding of position, bet sizing, etc., etc., etc. Do you recommend any books that I should purchase and read up on? That would be very beneficial to my poker game. Love the videos on YouTube. I watch the shit out of them. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate your question. As far as books go, I don't really know too many good poker books. I haven't really read a poker book since... I actually don't remember the last poker book was that I read. It has been a long time, though, so I'm not really up on poker literature, but I would definitely tell you there are some great training resources. The three, or let's even say the coaches and instructors that help me the most learn how to play poker. It might not be the best currently for you, given your situation or anything like that, but the two poker minds that taught me the most about the fundamental like concepts of poker and made me go from like mediocre okay to, in my opinion, very good at the time that I was really playing poker, were Cole South, CTS, and he made videos for Card Runners, and Phil Galfond, who is obviously one of the best poker players alive and a fantastically brilliant poker mind and a person who I look up to quite a bit in lots of other different things as well. He was one of the first poker players that made videos to camera, although I don't think he's ever made a training one to camera, but he has been without Phil and Cole and their videos, I don't know where I would be mindset wise. Like, both of those guys are such good poker trainers and such good poker thinkers that having access to those guys talk through hands was super crucial. Like, there were other guys that I learned from, you know, and watched and whatever, but in terms of like instructional content that really helped me, definitely those two guys made some sweet videos. Phil's got a site, Run It Once, you know, we're 2 words brothers, you know, so we I support them, why not, you know? So yeah, Run It Once has done some great stuff over there. They've got a great, you know, crew of coaches and some of the best, smartest poker minds in the world over there. I highly recommend their stuff, but that might not be most appropriate for the small stakes guys that are just coming up or mid stakes guys that are just coming up. I don't know how good their mid small stakes content is, but I know that his high stakes stuff is second to none. So I'm sorry I can't help you more with your book recommendations, but that's certainly a thing. As far as how to improve generally, though, I can give you some tips on that. I think that one of the mistakes you'll make most often in poker is thinking about what's the standard. You know, like I have 5-4 suited here. What should I do? What do you do with 5-4 suited here? That's not the question, you know, like the question is who's around you? What's the dynamic? What's the history like? Who's in the big blind? Who's been re-raising? You know, like what have we shown down lately? And then kind of putting all those questions into a blender of information and then making the best guess that you can make out of all of that. I think we just give up here. I think I'm not really a quitter, but I decided to quit You know, it's the kind of board that people are going to connect with often enough that, you know, I feel like typically speaking, people will end up just, someone will call here and we're not in a great spot and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not the greatest of situations. Both players call, which is interesting. Well, if the river was a low heart, I was going to bet for sure. But I don't know if we can get away with a bet on the turn on the river here. Maybe we can. I don't expect anyone to fold a heart higher than like a 9 ever. Even like a 7 of hearts doesn't fold here, right? Like, let's be realistic. I mean, I don't think even like a low heart might not fold. But we're risking 12 to win 15. Often enough, these guys just have like a jack or something like that. I have the nut low just about. Does that win me the pot? No? I feel good about that bet against that particular player. I mean, like, not against the player. I mean, against that particular hand, I feel like our bet works often enough. I didn't think either one of them was particularly strong, so I took a shot at it. It has to work not often, not that often. I think, you know, giving up is obviously fine, which is what we, you know, we're planning on doing. And then I kind of talked myself into making a thin pair of bluffs there. I think if the river was, you know, if I had followed through, my plan, as I had said, was to bluff on like low hearts. And that would have worked clearly because he would have had no pair. So my plan as designed would have worked, but I thought the ace of hearts, there was a chance that we could maybe get that also, him to fold there as well. But he decided to look us up and made a good call. So always a fan of good calls being made, even if they're against us. Hero calling, it's a great thing, you know? Hero calling brothers. All right, so I picked up that little pot there. So I think I answered your question, right? Like studying poker and trying to think out of the box and applying yourself to different situations and not just thinking about like, what's the normal thing to do with 5-4 suited there? Give up, not bet. I have 5 high. Don't think like that, you know? Think about what they have. Think about what they'll fold. Think about what they'll think you'll have. Think about all that kind of stuff. And I think you'll find yourself better than your poker peers. This will be our last orbit here, probably. Probably going to wind this orbit up. Currently stuck $79, but no big thing. Hopefully stuck a little bit less after the king and queen of spades make an appearance. So this entire session was pretty much determined by that one huge hand that we played before. We've been re-raising this guy for the entire day, so don't see why I should stop now. With a hand as good as this one. So yeah, I think the entire session pretty much came down to that Jack-10 suited hand that didn't work out for us, that we were like a slight favorite in, basically flipping though. So if we had won that hand, we would have been obviously up for the session, but we didn't. So, you know, whatever, it happens. It's, you know, no big deal. That's poker. So if this guy re-raises, depends what he re-raises to. If he calls, we'll see what the flop is. If he folds, well, my work here is done. So let me know when Cat Avatar decides to make a decision. Call. All right. Pretty good flop for us with king and queen. Not one that's super likely to have helped our opponent. $9. Once again, if our opponent decides to call, we have a decision to make. If our opponent raises, we probably just fold, you know, because it's, I think that we're not really, I don't really expect this player to be raising as a bluff. And then, you know, is it possible? Of course, it's always possible. But I think I would have just folded if our opponent had decided to raise. Just mucked it, you know? All right. Folding the 5 deuce suited. Folding a suited hand on the button. Oh, my God. I can't even look. All right. No worries. Puppy dog feet is cool with me. All right. One last question for the road. One last question from... superfan, the original superfan himself, UK/Dubai superstar Rory McD writes, "Dear Jay Carver, when did you first realize you were big time or were in the too much money club? Love, Rory McDonald." I don't think I ever realized that yet. I mean, I think I've done some really cool things in my life that were pretty big time. That's for sure. I've got to meet some really cool people that for some reason thought I was bigger time than I was, and it was kind of like fake it until you make it to like the medium time. That's where I'm at right now. It's like solid medium time. And yeah, I don't know about that. There have been so many cool things lately, though. I've been very lucky that like I did Aisha Tyler's podcast, which is coming out in like a month. She's an awesome woman. Like that was pretty awesome to be invited to be on her show. I mean, like Chris Rock was on the show like four 4 weeks before me or something like that. Absolutely incredible. So I think that was pretty sweet. I also, I think, how do I forget? Rob Riggle recognizing me was pretty awesome at a charity event. He's like, Jason? It was like the summer after the World Series had all aired. So he must have watched the World Series and kind of knew who I was, which was pretty sweet. But that was like a year ago now. So yeah, thanks for your question, Rory McD. I appreciate it. So yeah, how did we do today? Didn't win. Heater streak is over, I'm afraid. We were in for 190. We ended up walking away with 117.68. So we lost 72.32, which is like 5% of our bankroll. Not even a thing. I should have lost a little bit less so I didn't have to erase the 3. That was unfortunate planning on my part. So we're down to 1298.11. No, whatever, it happens. I think I'm pretty happy with how we played this session. Can't be too upset with that. If you enjoyed this video, don't let me not know about it. Let me know. Comments, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. If you want to be notified when I make a new video, follow me on Twitter at Jason Somerville. Also, subscribe. YouTube is a great, wonderful thing. Subscribe. It'll tell you automatically. Come on. How do you miss that? I'll be back with more tomorrow. Some cool stuff coming the rest of the week. You guys will like it. Interesting things happening the rest of this week in content land. Thanks so much for watching, guys, as always, and I will see you back for more really soon. Peace.